today to expose a miscarriage of justice that's resulted in illness, suffering, and a loss of property. Under the Obama administration's leadership, EPA has caved to the oil and gas industry's pressure. They've put political considerations above the health and safety of people who live in the communities that are hosting drilling and fracking operations. Today, the people on the front lines of fracking are here to tell their story. They're telling their story to the EPA's advisory board committee as they discuss the story. They can set the record straight. These people from the front lines are here to ask the board to consider the entire body of science that's been accumulated on gas development. There are more than 600 peer-reviewed studies on hydraulic fracturing. The majority of them show there are serious risks and adverse impacts. The EPA study is a real embarrassment to the Obama administration. Shockingly, it did not include the evidence that they collected from Dimock, Pennsylvania, from Parker County, Texas, or Pavillion, Wyoming. The agency's preliminary findings showed there was contamination, and yet the investigations were abruptly closed. EPA promised the people who live day in and day out with fracking that they would give a real examination to the water impacts. But yet that study was limited in scope, it was poorly designed. EPA did not collect their own data from direct monitoring of fracking operations. Instead, they depended on industry data, and their access to fracking sites was limited by the industry. It's no surprise that their conclusions reflect the fact that the study was influenced by politics. As you would expect, it's been used to justify the ongoing narrative about the safety of fracking. EPA did not design or undertake the study that they promised. They did not do the prospective study that would have included baseline testing before drilling and fracking. But even with the poor quality of the study, it's important to note that in the 600-page document, there are many, many concrete examples of fracking groundwater contamination, from monitoring wells in Kildare, North Dakota, to wells in northeastern Pennsylvania and wells in Wise County, Texas. The EPA study actually did show concrete examples of water contamination from fracking. But unfortunately, the study and the related media coverage around it provided the industry cover for continuing to poison our nation's drinking water. Our first two speakers this morning are from the three communities where EPA abandoned the studies. They're here to set the record straight. Ray Kimball from Dimock, Pennsylvania, will speak first.
Ray Kimball, Dimock, Pennsylvania. In fact, the landowner and ex-gas worker. Mr. Board, EPA says it's safe for me to drink and bathe at my home. This is what I'm drinking down here right now, so I don't know which one you'd really want to try to drink right now. But EPA refused to drink that water when they came to my home. The contamination in Dimock goes everything from cancer-causing agents, air quality, the compressor stations. I have tumors on me, psychosis of the lungs, I have breathing problems. For living in my house that I spent 5 years building, which is now worth $0. It's just, it's hard to even begin where to go with it. It's just so many things that are wrong, everything. The air quality, the contamination of the water. There's no usable water in Dimock whatsoever. It's all contaminated. All my neighbors are contaminated, everything. You got cattle dying up around us. There's different pigs that are dying, different pig farms that are dying from drinking the water. I got a failed casing in front of the house, 500 feet from my house. I've been venting off, EPA's permitting it to vent off in front of my house for the past 2 years. So bad you can't even breathe, okay? So I'm down here for 2 reasons: to turn around and let people know how sick people are. And when I go there to talk today, I'm not gonna ask them, I'm not gonna say thank you for letting me be here. I'm gonna demand you do your damn job and get back and open up the truth of what's going on. These agents turned around and came back to me in Dimock and admitted they were ordered out by the Obama administration because they were screwed up the re-election of 2012. Well, you know something? You come up and drink this water, Obama, see if you want to live in it, bathe in it, or drink it. I'll turn my water back on and let the agents live in my house for 2 weeks and they can drink my water and bathe in it. Thank you.
Our next speaker is John Fenton from Pavillion, Wyoming.
Good morning. We're here to let the EPA know today that we are still living in the situations that they abandoned us to. Our personal situation is the EPA ended their investigation and turned us over to the state of Wyoming, who is now leading an investigation that is being funded by Encana Oil and Gas. We're left in the hands of a state that also just passed a rule that makes it illegal to collect data on public property. You can now be imprisoned and fined for data collection, for taking photographs, for trying to document the impacts that we are suffering. Instead, we have an agency who has been emasculated by the oil and gas corporations of this company, who is beholden to them, who accepts spoon to mouth the information that they are fed by the oil and gas industry as the gospel, instead of doing their jobs and doing research and protecting the environment like they're charged to do. We're here to hold them accountable and to let them know that we're doing the job that they're supposed to be doing. We're holding the front line against this. We are the direct consequence, we are the collateral damage of this industry making money and occupying our land. And they should step forward and actually do what their name implies that they should be doing. Protect the environment of the United States of America and the citizens that live in that environment. Thank you.
Our next 2 speakers are Craig Stevens with Patriots of the Marcellus. Craig was instrumental in getting the EPA to begin the study they abandoned in Dimock, Pennsylvania. And our second speaker will be Ron Gula, who is from southwestern Pennsylvania and has seen firsthand the sickness and the other devastation from the oil and gas industry. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. Craig Stevens. I'm a 6th-generation landowner in Silver Lake Township, Pennsylvania. My family's been on the same corner for 183 years. That's my father's side. I moved there full-time in January 2010 and immediately saw problems happening. You couldn't miss it. They were in the papers. People were talking. I went to Dimock myself as an advocate. No drilling was going on in our neighborhood in 15 miles north of Dimock. So I decided to go find out what the truth is. The truth I found out was in the documentation that these people had. They had pre-drill testing. They had documents from the DEP, Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, that said their water had been contaminated by Cabot Oil and Gas. So I was not understanding why most of my neighbors were not believing them. They were saying, no, there's nothing wrong. And so when I went to find out, I went for one reason: to protect my property and my 4 children's 7th-generation property from the same thing happening. Sadly, that was not what happened. When you advocate for another community, basically we went in. They had no clean water. There was no clean water for these people. When our own DEP abandoned them on November 30th of 2011 and stopped the water deliveries that had been occurring for almost 2 years, We had to step up. Nobody was there to help. I called the EPA myself, and they showed up, unbelievably. Not only on my property, but they came to Dimock. They came there and tested the water for 6 months. We were told every month an insult was done after 10 tests were done. They told the whole world that the water looks good in Dimock. They were supposed to be testing 64 water wells. They did them 10 at a time each month, and they started announcing it. We knew the fix was in then. After 6 months of investigatory work, they came and sat down with my neighbors, looked them right in the eye, and said, your water is safe to drink and utilize. Now, here's the funny part. I got 5 of them to allow a camera to sit there and show them, and they were offered the same water that you're seeing here. Some of it's even worse, and they refused to drink it. The video shows them backing their chair away from the glass of water. So we knew right then we were not going to get any help. So since that time, since the abandonment of the investigation in Dimock, we've been pushing for the EPA to come back in and really tell the truth and see what's going on. It's even become worse now since that time. So for over 3 years, we've been asking, now chasing, I guess. I mean, I've been to 5 events that Gina McCarthy, the Secretary of the EPA, has been at just to ask questions and bring documentation. I have the documentation from our DEP, hundreds of cases of water contamination from their own investigations that say your private water well has been found to be contaminated by natural gas drilling in your area. This is a joke. This document that they're reviewing there, which is right here, this is not worth the paper it's written on. They don't even include Dimock, Pennsylvania, Parker County, Texas, and Pavillion, Wyoming. Why? Because they proved it damaged the water there. So it can't be included in this. So what are the scientists reviewing there? There are no facts in there. There are assumptions and, as John said, spoon-fed lies from the oil and gas industry. I'm here today once again to stand with my neighbors all over this country that are being damaged and to say this, Gina McCarthy, you can run, but you cannot hide. We're here because we were not invited to come and speak. We had to come and sign up to speak for 5 minutes. And in that 5 minutes, we're going to impact this body here more than any of you could ever do in years. Thank you.
We're going to ask Steve Lipsky from Parker County, Texas, to step in. He's about to testify at the advisory board meeting. Steve.
My name is Steve Lipsky. I'm from Parker County, Texas. I've been up here to DC. I think this is my 4th time in other places. And to be honest with you, I'm tired of it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to be here. We're victims. Do you think we asked for this? No, we didn't. I mean, anyone who would come here and enjoy this is crazy. This is not fun, and our life has been ruined, and I just want to move on with my life and get past this. Right now, we're here to speak again today. 5 years and 5 minutes. I mean, good luck. I'm just going to go over some things. I'm going to go over here at this meeting. I have some scientists here also. Our cases here have been the most studied cases ever. For 5 years, I've had some of the best universities, Duke University, Arlington, all these, and again, the labs, Isotech labs, the gold standard, they're same labs as industry uses, all have the same conclusive, is that in my situation I can speak as my water is, I mean, they call it a gas well, not a water well. The Railroad Commission basically, after doing their testing and Range Resources back in 2011, they sent us a letter, and a lot of my neighbors, saying that the results showed that your water is safe to drink and there's no danger in using your water in your home. Okay? They also, in the same letter, also said that in the headspace of my water well, which basically is my vent, which the hose used to be hooked up, it had been melted, now it's a pipe, and it's always been a vent, is that it's over around 500,000 parts per million of methane alone. That's over 10 times explosive limits. Henry's Law will tell you, you cannot have a 2 or 2.3, I mean, you have to have very high levels of methane in your water for that to be happening. That's where that comes from, is the water table. Also, another letter here from Range's attorney to my attorney, basically stating again that that my well is safe and poses absolutely no hazard. Okay. I also have, I'll just show you here too, real fast, is at the Railroad Commission hearing, it said a lot of things. No problems with the well. There's violations, always has been. Second of all, they said there's no faults in my area. Right here, got a great area. That's 3 faults, probably more faults in the entire Parker County, if not Texas, right underneath my house. Okay? That's been out in public domain for decades, even before they drilled. Okay? That's, again, is the last part here is When the Railroad Commission came out and did the last set of testing in 2014, I have audio tapes I'm going to play later in the future of them lying, false reports, fraud. But here I'm going to show is that their own technicians, when they did the testing, basically said that they used what's called the inverted sampling method. And the reason why they said it is they said that my water was significantly effervescent to use this method. Effervescent means that the methane is separating from the water, basically bubbling. And again, if you look at the OSGS report, the own government's report, it says here clearly that methane reaches saturation in water at 20 milligrams per liter, basically saying that that's also at 28 will light on fire. But we all know, based on my testing, it's between 50 and 70, the highest ever probably tested in a residential well. And it actually says right here that this should be addressed immediately. It's dangerous. The Railroad Commission, Barry Smitherman, in June 6 of 2012, basically said this to, Congress, that I tried to attempt to extort $6.5 million from Range. David Porter said in February 5th, 2014, that it's completely fraudulent and stunt. I have more than enough evidence of, they won't even admit the fact that what happened is caused by drilling, but they won't even admit that I have a problem. And I have audio tape to prove this. Last but least is the EPA. They said in the OHG report that they had a right to issue this emergency order because Range did it, they said, again, and that it was dangerous. But the reason they withdrew it is they said to reduce the cost and legal risks associated with ongoing court cases. Basically, they can't afford to fight industry. I'm supposed to do it. I'm an individual. Our government can't afford to. Reduce, they also said that reduce because the resident has obtained water from a separate source and no longer using a water well. Well, I've been for 5 years on my own. It went and hooked up and got water delivered for 5 years. A lot of money. And again, even though after they're telling me I can use it. And also, they're saying that the reason they withdrew is that Range agreed to do this hydraulic fracking study. They didn't do it. Okay? They made a deal with them. So basically, ever since this happened, they told me, came to me that we have proof. I was surprised when they called me. The science shows absolutely that Range Resources contaminated your water. Okay, I was not a party to the Road Commission hearing. Couldn't be. I only had a week or two to prepare. And they told me I was not a party to this hearing. EPA was not either. And now the EPA basically abandoned me. I don't know what to do. I'm being sued by the industry for simply saying that they did it after my government told me they did. And also because I said my water light's on fire. I think the rumor is the reason they're after me is they said it's misleading. They're saying that it's not the water that lights on fire, it's the gas in the water lights on fire. Seriously, your water's not dirty, it's the mud in the water. And so, it's not polluted, it's a pollution. My water that comes out of my well lights on fire. Okay, it's the methane in the water it does, and that is what the problem is. I have way too much methane and other chemicals in my water, and the documents prove it here. Anyone at any time, it's called Old Faithful, it does it. You can come out to my house, see my well light on fire, see the vent light on fire. The vent's always open. The venting, it does not make a difference in the water qualification. And I'm here one last time. I'm done. I don't want to be here anymore. And if the EPA can't stand up and defend me and say there is a problem, then apparently they think they made a mistake. And if they made a mistake, they need to apologize to all of us, Range, me, everyone. And December 1st, I'm going to go ahead and hook my water back up. And I believe that the EPA legally, if they believe that this is true and their documents are true, they should have to stop me. They're going to actually endanger my family. And I'm not crazy, but again, if they don't stop me, that tells me they think the same thing. What am I supposed to believe? I have all these reports. They have done nothing about it. Well, just recently. So again, December 1st, I will be hooking this water back up. I do every safety precaution I can, but again, let's just see what my government does. They already abandoned me. If they don't step forward after this, they're basically admitting that they're wrong. And I don't think they are. Everyone else proves they're not. But we'll see what happens. Okay, thank you for your time. I need to go speak. Thanks, Doc.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Ron Gula from Washington County, Pennsylvania. I was the second horizontal well drilled in PA. I used to work in the oil and gas industry. I'm not an expert, but I'm not stupid. Long story short, I'm out there now doing health surveys. And I'm here to tell you, and I will challenge anybody, anywhere, industry, EPA, bring it on. We'll sit down and we'll talk about it. There are people that are sick all over this country from the fracking. The contamination is way out of hand. And if the red flag does not come up, when this company, this industry is exempt from clean air, clean water, safe drinking water, the right to know, the Superfund Act, the toxic release inventory, what does that tell you? They're exempt. So you, the landowner, and you, the community, are sitting there holding the bag and the liability, not them. They laugh all the way to the bank. I have got thousands of hours into this, and I know people from all around this country. And I can assure you this, there isn't a week that does not go by that I do not talk to somebody that's having health issues from the impacts of drilling. I also send people to Southwestern Pennsylvania Environmental Health Project, which has been opened up a couple years ago, so that they could collect the data of people that are having health issues. And the industry always loves to use that word anecdotal. Everything's anecdotal. Well, this is a gas well that's bubbling. Anecdotal? It's real. You've heard all these people telling their stories. It's the same scenario everywhere you go. It's just a different face and a different name. These are dead cattle. Anecdotal? I don't think so. You want to talk to the owners? None of these people have received any type of compensation. Here's a calf that I took the liver out of. You see its eye? It's white. The pupil and iris are white. I've shown these pictures hundreds of times. You want true stories that are out there? You could get a copy of the Shellfield stories. This is the second volume. Here's the first volume. I helped them communicate with a lot of these people so they could get their stories. You could dial a number, 412-346-8098, and you could order some. Please do it. Anecdotal, and these people are crying their hearts out. And it's not because they want to go and sue the oil and gas company to make millions. None of us wanted any of that. We just wanted our lives back. And all the people that I talked to. I was a multimillionaire before Range Resources ever came and trashed my property. You know why? Because I had a quality of life. All the people I've talked to will tell you the same thing. They had a quality of life, which is no longer. And I'm going to tell you one more thing in closing. This whole ordeal, talking to the industry, talking to our federal agency, our state agency that's supposed to be watching over us and our environment, it reminds me of Limburger cheese. Because the more you look into this, the more it smells. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Lauren Padgett. She's the Policy Director of Earthworks, which is a leading advocate around the nation of the impacted families on the front lines of fracking and drilling.
So listening to all these stories, and I've listened to them so many times all over the country, you have to ask yourself why. Why is the EPA, why is the Obama administration ignoring all of these stories? And why are they ignoring the science? Because the science is clear. There are hundreds of peer-reviewed studies that make links between air pollution, water pollution, public health issues, and oil and gas drilling. Even the EPA's own study that we are here today at the Science Advisory Board talking about, it has links between oil and gas drilling and pollution. The science is clear, so why is the administration ignoring the science? And the reason is politics. This administration has embraced an all-of-the-above energy platform that means that they must embrace the oil and gas industry, regardless of the harm that it does to communities. And as long as we continue to embrace that all of the above, this is going to keep happening. It's going to keep happening across the country. It's going to keep happening in states that there's oil and gas drilling. And you never know, it could happen to you. And all of these folks, didn't ask for this. But this is where they are, and this is what has happened to their lives. We know that the science is clear, and it's time for the EPA and this administration to put communities over the continued misguided reliance on fossil fuels.